My advice to a mentor would be that actually in delivering this project I spent more time and more around my MBA knowledge than I did around disability. If you think it's just about disability, then you need to think again.
I think there are a couple of things that make it a good mentor. First is that spirit of teacher, a passionate interest in and commitment to the whatever it is that you're mentoring about. A love of your subject, a love of the issues. And the second, related to that, is not the desire to do it for other people, but to help people do that for themselves, to let them learn how to fly. It isn't about taking things over. It isn't about saying, yeah, that's a really good idea, now what I really think you should be doing is this. It's about helping somebody take an idea and make it even more of itself.
And I think some of the learning is actually getting it wrong. And that's really hard for mentors, to allow people to make mistakes. Maybe be there to pick them up and dust them down and put them back together again. But that's a real skill, I think, that is important for mentors to have.
If I had to give advice to the mentee organisation, it would be as ambitious as you possibly can, and then double it.
One of the benefits of having ECDP as a mentor was the knowledge that they'd already done this and they were a successful ULO. It's a bit like being the second one to fly across the Atlantic or the second one to be sailing across the Pacific. You know somebody who's already done it. It gives you a lot of confidence that you can do it too.
What we have been able to do is accelerate all the learning and the processes that you would have had to gone through if you were setting up a user-led organisation from scratch on your own. Because we provided a level of continuity, we provided motivation through the really development times where actually there was no agreement, there was no consensus.
And I do remember at various times thinking to myself, I'm just going to give up. This falls into that too difficult to do category. And I remember going home after some project steering group meetings and thinking, that's just too tiring. We cannot do this. It's almost impossible. And I think that's a key role of the mentor, actually, is to be able to offer that sort of support. And I can remember phoning up, emailing, meeting outside of the project steering group meetings, and sort of being able to vent some of my frustration behind what was going on, and talking to somebody who was independent, who was political with a small p, and could really help me refocus again on some of the things that I was having to do, and that was a real benefit.
Within our project steering group we had 11 members, the majority of whom were from disabled people's organisations, but we also had some individuals that were independent, and that balance was really key to the project.
We had people from different backgrounds, different views, different ideas, who had been sort of motivated to be part of the group through an initial kick-off meeting. Now, that really sort of inspired people to get involved. What it hadn't done, really, in hindsight, was to provide all of us with a collective understanding of what we even meant by some basic terms. And certainly the first couple of meetings, as you can imagine, were fairly sort of storming type meetings when people with their own agendas were coming together to try and sort of discuss a collective endpoint, but we all had different views about how we would get there and why we would get there.
And I think if we were to do it again, you would need to build in some space for the group to develop as a group and understand how they want to operate and have total clarity in a safe environment to be able to ask the questions about what it is they're actually being expected or needed to do.
So collectively we had like a single goal that we knew that we were trying to achieve. Because what we tried to do in the project steering group meeting was to come up with a goal at the same time as we were trying to come up with a process, and that was very difficult for all of us to sort of get our heads around.
There are not many shortcuts you can take. You need to have the debates, you need to have that real clear understanding, because otherwise, at some point in the process, you're going to hit the buffers. And I think we hit the buffers in a number of ways because we thought we could take shortcuts and realised then we couldn't, and then had to go back through a process.
But I think what came out of it actually was a very good understanding of what people's skills and abilities are, and a good understanding of the impact of certain impairments within that group for people who didn't necessarily have any experience of that before. And that's something that personally I feel quite proud of. We got through some fairly stormy times into an arena where actually we all knew what we wanted to achieve and how to achieve it.